Tuvasa the Sunlit versus new commander Saheeli the Gifted. Yeah, I'm actually going to make the mere token commander that I can't remember the name of, and I think she would be an excellent fit with that middle ability. Is this the one I'm thinking of? No, that's a different Saheeli. It's the original Saheeli I'm thinking of. Anyway, we can keep that because we have a means of fixing our mana pretty well with that. We'll go in for Temple Garden tapped. Then we can get down Sun Petal Grove or a tap land with the Wooded Foothills. And seeing as how we are unclear, we'll have to read through our opponent's commander. But first, we'll get down probably a Breeding Pool with the Wooded Foothills. And then we'll see what Saheeli the Gifted does. 4 mana. It can be your commander, of course. It's 4 loyalty. +1 is a servo token. And then another +1. The next spell you cast this turn costs a generic Lester cast for each artifact you control as you cast it. The limit break is -7. Let me just let our opponent do what they're doing. -7 for each artifact you control. Create a token that's a copy of it, and those tokens gain haste. Exile those tokens at the beginning of the next end step. And I don't know what that card is that our opponent got into either, so I'm going to have to read over that as well. Get down the Breeding Pool in tapped. And we can hopefully go for our commander. Whenever an artifact enters under your control, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. That's fine. As long as it can't deal it to our commander. Nothing to say that our opponent doesn't have burn, of course. I haven't seen this commander before, so I don't actually know if it or how it runs. Our commander is Tuvasa the Sunlit in Bant, a 1/1. It gets a buff for each enchantment we control, and whenever you cast your first enchantment spell each turn, you draw a card. I think we are going to go for, might be a Seal of Cleansing next turn if our opponent gets down an artifact, which we have to assume, well, not yet. They're going for Chief Engineer first. And your creature, yeah, so Convoke, yeah, allows them to get down this thing, so we definitely want to Seal of Cleansing on that. And then we have to hope that we get into a land here, because I'd like to get down Karametra. Karametra is the original commander for this deck, and we'll let them try and equip that before we blow it up. Unfortunately, we get into a tap land, so that's not good. Yeah, we'll go for... Well, we'll try and get down Karametra next turn, but I'm not sure what we're going to do as of yet. We'll swing in at our opponent, certainly. And let me just make sure. It's a bit late now, but we'll make sure this thing isn't indestructible. No, I'm sure it would be a Dark Steel Bloodforged Battle Axe if it was indestructible. Equipped creature gets +2 to its attack or power, whatever you want to call it. The equip cost is 2. Whenever the equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you get a token of the Bloodforged Battle Axe. And unfortunately, our opponent seems to be struggling on land drops, which can be a problem with Izzet, but they do have means of card draw in blue, and they also, in an artifact deck, you would think they would have ramp in Mana Rocks. Okay, they're going for Galvanic Blast on our commander. So that's that done. And then convoking something out here is Lightning Greaves. And that does of course mean that we are not only dealt a damage, but they'll be able to give their creatures haste and shroud for free. I think we still go for the Bloodforged Battle Axe. We do have Copy Artifact in the deck, and it might be worth going for that Lightning Greaves. Yeah, we're going to keep hold of the Seal of Cleansing. If they're not equipping the Bloodforged Battle Axe, then there's no point in blowing it up. It can just sit there for the rest of the game as far as I'm concerned. Well, there's a Temple of the False God, which helps us into Karametra. So we're going to certainly go for that. And now every time we play a creature, we can search our library for a forest or a plains and put it into play tapped. And then when we get Devotion to Celestia of 7 or more, it will be a 6/7 indestructible creature. As it stands right now, I'm not really sure what we want to go for here. We could try an Estrid's Invocation on the Seal of Cleansing, and that would allow us to blow up both the equipments. Chief of the Foundry, other artifacts. Oh, artifact creatures you control get a +1/+1 buff. Yeah, we'll just let that happen. I think a Ghostly Prism would help us here, so we might just go for that. Stasis Snare is good as well. We don't have another land drop to make, so we'll go for the tap land. And then Ghostly Prison, followed by an Estrid's Invocation on the Ghostly Prison, I think is okay. Because that means that they have to pay 4 to get through for each creature, which they're not going to pay anytime soon. And that will slow them down to the point where we can drag the game out for as long as possible. I think we want to go in for our commander next turn. Although it might be worth getting down Privileged Position first. It's pretty slow, but our opponent isn't hitting us and they're not getting their land drops down either. So we have time. We can go for other permanents we control have hexproof, I think. Okay, and they're going for an equip on the... yeah, on that. So they're going to try and make us use the Seal of Cleansing. We can, of course, do it at instant speed. So there's no need to rush into anything. They're getting down a flyer there for 2 mana and 2 life. And then hasting... oh no, I thought they were going to put haste on this thing. They can't pay to attack anyway. So in that case, we'll always yield to that, but we're not going to flicker it. Cyclonic Rift is unfortunate for our opponent, seeing as how they are mana screwed. We'll go for Privileged Position, and we're not going to use the Tectonic Edge, but we'll hold it up anyway. And we can go in with Karametra now, which is a 6/7 indestructible. And that puts our opponent on a little bit of a clock. What we're aiming for now is our commander, and then if we can start getting off things like Prison Term and Stasis Snare, then that does at least get us into some card draw. What we could do as well is flicker the Estrid's Invocation and copy Privileged Position, and then that will give both of our Privileged Positions hexproof. They would give each other hexproof, and that would effectively give all of our stuff hexproof. Dak Faden is a looter for them, so they'll be able to get into some more lands, hopefully. We only have 1 artifact in the deck, and that's Sol Ring. We don't have that in play, and it would have hexproof anyway, so they couldn't steal it with Dak Faden. Yep, they are of course going for the 2 mana, not 2 mana, 2 cards drawn, 2 cards discarded. Okay, and they've discarded their Tezzeret Cruel Mechanist, or Machinist. I haven't seen this one before. +1, draw a card. Until your next turn, an artifact becomes a 5/5. Yeah, never seen that one before. Oh, Arcbound Ravager could do some good stuff for them. If they have any kind of reanimation plans going on. They, of course, can't swing in thanks to our prison. So I think the Arcbound Ravager is a good target for the prison term. We get into a land, which is good. We'll go for our commander here. That is 2 mana. And then Bant. And what do we need? White. And then the 2 off the Temple of the False God. We will go for Karametra here. And we'll get another blue source, I think. Hallowed Fountain will do nicely. And then when we prison term, or do we want to stasis snare? Why don't we swing in first and see what happens? We'll go in at Dak Faden. I imagine they'll block with something. Probably block with that flyer. Okay, they're allowing us to kill Dak Faden, which might be telling. They don't want to lose any of their creatures. I think we go for Arcbound Ravager here. Question is, what do we go for Arcbound Ravager with? I think we just go for Prison Term. And at least we can move it around. Wild Growth is nice. That's a cheap ramp enchantment for us to get into if we want to. And yeah, now we have a 6/7 and a 7/7 on the board. Both have hexproof. We can be dealing some big damage to our opponents. We're going to be forcing them to block soon enough. And they're tapping out again, so they can't swing in. Saheeli the Gifted comes in, and they may well just throw out. Yep, they're going to throw out a servo token. And we'll always yield to that, but we'll say no this time. We don't care about the servo token. And that thing, of course, will deal 1 damage to us. I think we're on the Cyclonic Rift plan now. We can just rift everything and then swing in with our big creatures. We'll see how much power we can get onto Tuvasa. Okay, we're getting to an island. I don't mind wild growthing an island. And that draws us a card. See what we get into here. Plea for Guidance. Well, that will be 14 damage in our opponent. I think Cyclonic Rift just gets our opponent here, so we won't mess around. We'll go for that. That's 1 and 4. And there we go. We get to swing in for 14, and then most likely we'll go wide on our opponent next turn. And yeah, our opponent sees that. That wasn't really a fair game, but I'm having some trouble getting games at all on Magic Online at the moment. So yeah, hopefully that isn't a trend that's going to be sticking around for any length of time. I will continue to try and get games with Tuvasa. I'm not sure what I think of her, to be honest. I really, really enjoy running Karametra God of Harvest as an Enchantress deck. But when I take out a few cards and throw blue into the mix, we get some good cards with Propaganda and Copy Artifact and things like that. But yeah, I'm not sure what I think of her. I think she could have done with having Hexproof, you know. 3 mana, 1/1. But that buff is great and all, but she doesn't get any kind of evasion, so I think she could have done with either... flying doesn't really make sense. Island walk, maybe, or something like that. But I think the best thing for her would have been hexproof, and I think that would have put her into the realms of being a much better commander. But anyway, she isn't all that great in my opinion, but I'm going to keep trying with her, and failing that, I'll just fall back on Karametra as the enchantress of my choice. Hope you all enjoyed that, and I will see you all in the next one.